All right, can you hear me? Good? All right. Om Sahana Navatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Eva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Cool. Oh. This one? Yeah? All right. Well, Hari Om. In advance, I would like to say sorry for any mispronunciations. And so I'll be discussing the Chopais 33 and 34 tonight. So let's begin by chanting them both, and feel free to chant along with me. Tumare bhajna ramako pave, janma janma ke dukha bisarave, antakala rugubara praje, jaho janma hari bhakta kahai. So let's begin with Chopai 33. Tumare bhajna ramako pave, janma janma ke dukha bisarave. When singing the praises of Lord Hanuman, you obtain Rama, and in return, it makes you forget all of your past miseries in this life, as well as all your past lives. When I first read this, I thought to myself, interesting. Forget all your past miseries? Because I have my final exams in 2 weeks, so if that doesn't go good, at least I have this bhajan to chant. After reading the definition, as you can say, this Chopaya, I thought to myself, how does praising Lord Hanuman translate to praising Lord Rama? Obviously, they have a bond, but they're still two different beings. Well, before discussing that, you must know there are two means of obtaining Lord Rama. Jnana and Vairagya. Jnana, which in simpler terms is knowledge, acquired through meditation and study, which can be seen through Brahmins, for example. Jnana Shakti is the power of intellect, real wisdom, or knowledge. And Jnana Yoga is one of three main paths which are supposed to lead towards moksha. On the other hand, we have Vairagya. Vairagya is the detachment and renunciation from the pains and pleasures of the material world. True Vairagya refers to an internal state of mind rather than an external lifestyle. This can be practiced equally by someone that is divulged in family life and their career, as well as someone that renunciated it altogether. One that practices Vairagya gradually develops a strong attraction for the inner spiritual source of fulfillment and happiness, and the limited attachments fall away naturally. As previously stated, Jnana and Vairagya are two means to obtain Rama, and Hanuman is both Jnana and Vairagya incarnate. So serving Hanuman leads to Rama, and hence in return makes you forget all your past miseries due to his blessings. I was trying to find a good example of the relationship between Lord Rama and Lord Hanuman, which they had, but in the end, the best example is just them two. I think this level of strong bond is possible between two people when mutual respect overtakes mutual expectations. Lord Rama was extremely a genuine man, and Lord Hanuman was an extremely trustable being. Hence, when they met, they grew selflessly respectful to each other because they valued each other's quality genuinely. And that is why Lord Rama loved Lord Hanuman so much, and Hanumanji faced so much pain for his beloved Rama. Be deserving and love selflessly. This is what we get out of their bond or relationship. It is known that Lord Rama is greatly pleased when people pray to Lord Hanuman. And we don't need to discuss the love that Lord Hanuman had for Lord Rama because his love was so deep that anytime Lord Rama felt pain, so did Hanumanji. This leads us into Chopaya 34. Anta kala raghubara purajai, jaho janma hari bhakta kahai. At the end of one's life, when one goes into the abode of Rama, such a person will be deemed as having been born as a devotee of Lord Rama. So when a devotee of Rama dies, they go to Raghubarapura or Saketa, which in case is heaven. Mother Sita said to Lord Hanuman, "May you always serve the Lord Rama with great love and devotion. May you always be his dear servant. If anyone worships you, he automatically obtains Lord Rama." As we discussed in the last Chopai. Another interpretation is that Lord Rama is happy if people praise Sri Hanuman. So this is the best way to please Lord Rama. The one who worships you will have no sorrow. He will forget sorrows not only of his life, but all past lives too. Such a person at the time of death will go to the abode of Lord Rama. This is also called Vaikuntha Loka, which is also known as the home of Lord Vishnu. And there's also Saketa Loka, where being born, they become devotees of the Lord. And what do these devotees do? Just sit and watch the Lord and nothing else. When I first read this, I was honestly somewhat confused because I was really wondering, is that all they do? Because in this physical world, as you can say, our main purpose is to attain moksha. And one way to do that is to pray to the Lord nonstop. So if we do that in this life and then attain moksha and we get to be reborn as a devotee of Rama and do the same exact thing, is there really a reason to begin with? But luckily, Swami Tejamanandaji knew exactly what I was thinking, and he goes on to say, "Some say that it's unproductive just to watch the Lord do nothing else. But these same people spend hours watching television." And this really hit me, because the average person's day is about 16 hours that we're awake. And to be honest, not even one of those hours is me praying to the Lord. So if we can do everything else for an hours to end, we shouldn't have any excuse to not pray to the Lord. He also goes on to say that true devotees never grow tired of watching the Lord, who is very embodiment of all beauty, kindness, and compassion. In fact, devotees wish to be born again on this earth when the Lord manifests as an incarnation, so that they can be with him and watch his glories. And I guess that's one of our goals in life and how it's our duty to worship the Lord. Hari Om.
Hari Om. My name is Tanya Asher. Can't hear. Okay. Is this better? Oh, I can hear it better too. Okay. So I'm going to have Udit Narayan. Hopefully there's not too much feedback, but sing along with Udit Narayan.
देव की नाई जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा होए सिद्धि साखी गौरी सा.
Okay, Sheila was enjoying that music. Okay, so I'm going to first break down the meaning of these verses, and then I'll talk about how we can apply it in our lives. Okay. Let me pull up my notes. Sorry about that. Okay. Jo sata bara paat kar koi, chitta hi bandi mahasukha hoi. One who recites the Hanuman Chalisa 100 times is released from bondage, i.e. the cycle of birth and of death and rebirth, and enjoys absolute bliss. Jo yaha parai Hanumana Chalisa hoya siddhi saki gaurisa. One who reads the Hanuman Chalisa regularly will accomplish his goals, to which Lord Shiva is the witness. So on the first day, and Padma referred to this yesterday as well, but on the first day, Ram talked about how his grandmother was terminally ill, and she had cancer. So his mom went to a room by herself and chanted the Hanuman Chalisa 108 times, and then she was miraculously cured. So Padma talked about this yesterday as well, but I think this speaks volume to this verse in the Hanuman Chalisa. So, Jo Sata Bara, the word Sata, it has two meanings. The first meaning, Sata, means 7 times. So if you do the Hanuman Chalisa regularly 7 times, daily you make it a habit. So Hanuman will take care of that person who does it, and the person will not have to worry. The second meaning, Shata, that means 100 times. So if you do the Hanuman Chalisa 100 times without a break, anything you've desired, it will be fulfilled. So at least once, I think we should all do it. How many of y'all have done the Hanuman Chalisa 100 times, 108 times, or 7 times daily? That's great. Have y'all maybe, seen any results or anything different come from it? Maybe feeling peaceful, to say the least? Okay, good. So I think it's interesting that this verse can have 2 meanings. The Sata, 7 times daily. So I do yoga at work, and one of my yoga instructors, he taught us this series. It's called the Tibetan Rites. And essentially there's 5 exercises that you do, and you build up to it, and eventually you do it 21 times, each of those exercises, and all 5 of them, and you do it daily. And apparently it's supposed to make you feel young throughout life. So you'll never feel old. And it's pretty crazy because a lot of people say it works, and I've actually, I'm the worst at any habit. But I've realized that doing something daily and in small doses, I think it's much easier to form a habit. So I liked that you can take this verse and break it into 2 meanings 7 times daily. So similarly, the Tibetan rites, doing it 21 times daily, I think is a lot easier than maybe doing a whole day's worth of yoga. And then Bonnie might say otherwise, but in my opinion, I think it's easier to break it down and do it in small doses daily. Okay, so I know y'all said that some of y'all have done it 100 times. I'll say that I had the opportunity to do it. I unfortunately missed when we did the Hanuman Chalisa-thon last Sunday, but when I lived in Los Angeles, the CHYK were doing their Hanuman Chalisa-thon, and I had the opportunity to organize it. But like Padma, the CHYKs were in and out, so it's hard to stay and do it all 108 times. So Padma said it was her goal to do it this year all 108 times. And I definitely think it's my goal this year as well. So I want to have everyone try to make it a goal, if not this next year, hopefully one time in your life to do it 108 times. In fact, Swamiji said that it's miraculous to do it, and he used that word miraculous. And I think I used that word earlier when I talked about how Ram's grandmother was miraculously cured. I think it just, again, it speaks volumes to how far chanting the Hanuman Chalisa can go. It should take about 7 to 8 hours to do it. I think it took about that long when we did it last Sunday. But if you do it leisurely, I know if you keep, you can change the tune and you can change the pace, but if you keep like a good pace, you can do it 7 to 8 hours. And I want to make sure that I'm talking about this realistically, because again, it's like a goal. When you're setting goals, you need to make sure that you make it so that is doable for you, and you're not setting yourself up for failure. Another thing to keep in mind is preferably do it 108 times. I know the verse says technically shut the 100 times, shut the 7 times daily. But like the beads on a japamala, that magic number that we see over and over again, 108 times. So that should be your goal. So thinking of it logically. Why 108 times? I know there's different sources for this, but how many of y'all know how many times you have to do something to break a habit or to build a habit? 3? 21, I've heard a lot. Anyone else? I was reading today and I saw 66, and I mean, there's a variety of sources. So if you are actually doing something 108 times, most certainly it will become a habit. And I like to think of this, again, logically, like setting realistic goals. I think thinking of this logically really helps to actually make someone want to do the Hanuman Chalisa. So similarly, when we do our Sunday prayers every morning, how many of y'all know the meaning of the prayers we do? It's hard, and I make sure I try, and I might memorize some of the prayers, but I'm always like, what is that meaning? And even I teach 4th grade, and every time Shivam, Baya, and we always try to make sure we're teaching the kids the meaning of these prayers, because if you do something so frequently, you're going to be curious. You're going to want to know what they mean. So hopefully I've intrigued y'all to want to know the meaning of our Sunday prayers every morning, but I think it's important. So similarly, when you're doing the Hanuman Chalisa so many times, you're going to want to know the meaning. You're going to get curious. So when you're doing it, you learn the meaning, and then you're embodying that meaning. So just this entire week, we've broken down the Hanuman Chalisa, and we've learned the meaning in depth, and we've discussed and analyzed all the verses. So I think that's good. When you're sitting down one day early in the morning and you're setting that 7 to 8 hours to chant it, you're going to be curious. You're going to want to know the meaning. So you're going to embody everything that we've talked about, all the perfections and everything that we want to embody like Hanumanji. I think by reading the Hanuman Chalisa and chanting it, we're going to cultivate that. And then I was talking to Padma before this as well. I was asking her, I want to make sure that I do explain this logically, because I do want people to make that goal of doing the Hanuman Chalisa. So we're talking about it, how you're fasting, okay? You're doing 7 to 8 hours, you will not have eaten for that period of time. So you're building stamina. And she was saying how you can kind of apply this to all works of life. You're building focus, and you're building stamina and endurance. And it's like a meditation, right? Doing the just any chanting, doing the Gayatri Mantra daily. You're creating this form of meditation for yourself. And I think that has long-term benefits as well. So another part of doing the Hanuman Chalisa, it's said to do it early in the morning. And that's the best time to practice any form of sadhana, because there's no one to disturb you, and you can't disturb anyone either, because hopefully they'll be sleeping. So even doing any form of puja or even meditation, a lot of people want to do it right before bed, but in the morning you're mentally more alert. And I just think you have that tranquility in the morning, that peace and calmness, that it's the best environment to do any chanting. So I think if we do set a goal to do it, and hopefully everyone leaves today having that goal with them to do the Hanuman Chalisa 108 times, I recommend doing it maybe on a Saturday morning, super bright and early when you're most alert. Sleep early the day before, and know that you will be fasting for 7 to 8 hours. And then turn off your cell phone, put it away, put all your electronics away. Don't check your email, don't check your texts, and without a break, do it continuously. So a story about the Hanuman Chalisa. So I'm Gujarati, Kutchi, And our Ishtadeva is Lord Krishna. So it wasn't really Lord Ram and Hanumanji. They weren't a big part of prayers that we did daily, or we didn't invoke Hanumanji directly. It was more Krishna. We always say Jai Shri Krishna, right? So the first time I actually heard about the Hanuman Chalisa was in high school. And I had this North Indian friend, she's an Agrawal, and I learned about it through her. So there's this organization called DECA. I don't know how many of y'all have heard of it, but it's in high school, and then they have a college version, Delta Epsilon Chi, I think, is what it is. But it's like a FBLA, some of y'all might have heard of that, Future Business Leaders of America. But it's a business organization, and you start out at the district level, and then you qualify to make it to state. And then eventually, if you do well at state, you qualify to compete in nationals. So we were at the state level, and the girl's name is Annie Agarwal, and she was the president of our district, actually. So really smart girl, but she was so nervous and so jittery. She had the biggest anxiety about competing the next day, and she didn't know what to do. She was all over the place. So she's like, oh my God, I need to do the Hanuman Chalisa. And I was like, what? What's that? You know, like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I should know this. I mean, I go to Mission Weekly, but I had no idea what it was. And she told me that she chants it. Her parents told her about it. It calms her nerves whenever she's feeling anxious. And she actually likes to do it before tests. So finals week, maybe, you know, it'll calm your nerves a little bit. But she went to her room, our hotel room. She closed the door. She kicked us out. And then again, you should chant the Hanuman Chalisa if you can, do it alone. So she closed the door and she chanted it a few times, and she was all better. And I was like, well, what is this magic hymn that you're like chanting? So that was the first time I had heard about it. So I kind of hold that with me, like it was so powerful to hear her story that she felt calm for the state competition after doing it. And this was over 10 years ago, and I still remember it because I think that I thought it was so powerful that she could stay calm after this. So this is coming into the second verse. So how can we prove that this works? This Hanuman Chalisa will release you from bondage and sorrows. So Tulsidas ji actually talks about it in this next verse. Joyah pare Hanuman Chalisa hoya siddhi saki gaurisa. So what's the proof? Saki gaurisa. So Tulsidas ji, who wrote the Hanuman Chalisa, he says that he had the vision to write this because of Shivji and Parvati ji. So in his vision, they told him to write this. And they certify it will work. And he goes, and he's pretty much saying, need I say more? And it's kind of like that minion gift, that mic drop. Like, need I say more? Shivji and Parvati ji said that this will work. This is my proof. So with that said, I really want everyone to leave today to have the goal to do the Hanuman Chalisa once in your life. If it's this year, that will be great. But that's my mic drop. And hopefully y'all will leave wanting to do it and set that goal this year.
Hari Om, Hari Om. Good? In the back, Nitish? Right. So first of all, I'm so happy to be here. It's my first night being here at the Relay Yagna. Had a hard work week, couldn't really make it, but I watched all of them on YouTube so far and didn't see a false note anywhere. They're amazing. And it's so good to see friends and peers just exchanging ideas on such a beautiful text. And Hanuman Chalisa is really close to me because when Swami Sarveshanandaji first came to the United States in 2002 as Brahmachari Uddhav Chaitanya, his first lecture in this very hall was on the Hanuman Chalisa. And as a 9-year-old, I was sitting right there and listening for the full week. So that was my first exposure to it from the man who is now my guru. So a really great text, really close to my heart. And so congratulations to all of you, especially those of you with finals and in college. This is a really tough time, and you guys still made it out the whole week to speak, and that's really cool. So the Hanuman Chalisa is one text that is very interesting because of its accessibility. Back in ancient times, even the Christian Bible was only written in Latin, and it was only accessible to those who knew the language. Over time, it gained more popularity, acceptance, understanding when it was translated into other languages like German, Italian, and French. Similarly, many of the texts in Hinduism, many of the big major ones that we look up to and read, are in Sanskrit. But Hanuman Chalisa is different in that Goswami Tulsidas Ji wrote it in Awadhi, which was a more accessible language, which was not the language of the elite, but the language of the common people, the masses. And because of this, even the common man can understand the glories of Lord Hanuman and Lord Ram because they can chant and understand the Hanuman Chalisa. And it's so easy to have access to, when you have access to a text in Sanskrit, to appreciate the beauty of it. But to take that and to put it in layman's terms in a different language, to still bring in that poetic beauty is a Herculean task, and Goswami Tulsidas Ji does a great job of that. Even looking at it not as a devotional text, but looking at it as merely a poetic work. The first line, Shri Guru Charana Sarojaraja, I use the dust from the feet of the Guru to cleanse the mirror of my heart. What a beautiful poetic way to start it. Don't even look at it as a devotional text, but even from just a linguistic style, such a beautiful text. And this text is so great that it is a devotional text. That's what makes it so amazing. Because we often, when we want spiritual enlightenment to learn more, we look at these big, high-level texts, Viveka Chudamani, Drigdrishya Viveka. We look at those texts as being the ones we have to follow. But in essence, to get to that level, we need to first cultivate devotion, which is the reason why when Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananji first came to the United States in the early 70s, whenever he would give a lecture series in California, he would first start not with any introductory text into Hinduism, but with chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita, which focuses on the yoga of devotion. Because he believed that before you open the door to the brain, you must open the door to the heart first. And I got that personal touch when after the YEP course, we were given textbooks. And in one of the textbooks called the Purusha Suktam, Swami Ramakrishnananji wrote a note to each of us. And to me, he wrote, Dearest Sridhar, when God measures a man, he wraps the measuring tape around the heart, not the head. And that really spoke to me, because no matter how intellectual you are, how good you are at recognizing all of these complex and very, very subtle philosophies, if you don't have that devotion, you can never really get there. And that's what I strive to do, to understand the devotional level before I go to the intellectual level. So with that, the verses I have today have a little bit of a funny twist to them because one of them was already repeated, but it's okay, I'll still go along with it. So please chant with me. Jai 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 Hanuman Gosai, Kripa Karahu Gurudev ki nai, Jo Shat Bar Paath Kar Koi, Chutahi Banti Mahasukha Hoi. So it starts with Jai 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 being said 3 times. And Jai means may victory be unto you, Lord Hanuman. And it's said 3 times because that represents the Sat, the Chit, and the Ananda. Sat meaning existence, Chit meaning consciousness, and Ananda meaning that pure bliss. And we looked up to Hanuman so much that there are pujas that go on. And whenever someone is singing Ganesh Pancharatnam or a song about Ganesha, we envision Lord Ganesh himself coming down and sitting with us listening to the glories of him. But when we chant Ramayana and sing the Ramayana, we don't envision Lord Rama coming down. We say that Lord Hanuman comes down and revels in the bliss of the glories of Lord Rama. That's how high regard we hold him in. That even when we're singing about his guru, we envision the devotee coming down, who is the Lord himself, and enjoying the Ramayana with us. And then it goes on to say, Hanumana Gosai. Gosai means the master of the senses. I'm going to be honest with you, food is a very big weakness of mine. And I started with a new job last year. And in the office, to make our days easier, we'd come into a surprise every single day. Sprinkles cupcakes would be there in the break room. We'd have cookies from this gourmet place. Red velvet cake, which is the first time I had red velvet cake last year. It was the most beautiful thing in the world I've ever had. Chocolate-covered peanuts, where you can still feel the chocolate melting in your mouth. Before you even take your first bite, the chocolate melts in your mouth. It's such a great feeling. I'm craving it right now even. So every hour I'd walk by the break room, get a little bowl, and then just fill it up with all these little goodies and start eating it. And within 2 months, I was trying on my jeans, and they weren't really fitting that well anymore. And I went to my dad and I said, hey, I need to go buy new jeans. He said, no, you need to reduce a little. Don't gain more jeans, reduce something else a little bit before you do that. I said, okay. So that showed me that I did not have proper control over my senses. I was going in and out of the break room, just piling up as much of those beautiful chocolate peanuts as I could. And that was adversely affecting my health because I was not a Gosai. I was nowhere near being a master of my senses. But Lord Hanuman has that mastery over his senses, where he doesn't give in to the limitations of his body and the urges of his body, yet focuses on what is truly important. I read a great quote that discipline is the difference between what you want now and what you want most. To get to that level where you want to be, you must sacrifice the urges that you have for what you want now. And now this is a funny example that I gave about the workroom, but there are some more serious issues that come out of attachment to the senses. One of my favorite television shows is The West Wing. And on that show, there's a character named Leo McGarry, who is the chief of staff to the President of the United States. It's a very noble position, a very high position. But he's an alcoholic. He's so attached to alcohol that impedes him from doing his job. And there's a scene where his lawyer is speaking to him about his alcohol addiction, and he says that my brain works differently from other people's, that I don't understand how people can have just one drink. Like, why wouldn't they want this feeling all the time? Where addiction becomes so intense, attachment to the senses is so intense that your brain even changes. And it's beyond the level of cognizing with your intellect that this is wrong, I shouldn't be doing this. That's what attachment to the senses can really do. But the way to get over problems of merely giving to the senses is not suppression, but sublimation. An example of that is if there's a bowl of some beautiful M&Ms right next to you, it's very easy to throw the bowl away, take all the M&Ms away, and just live that way. What's harder to do is sitting at your desk, eating one M&M, doing your work, and never touching the bowl again for the rest of the day. That takes so much more strength. But that is the way we get over our attachment to the senses, not by suppression, rather through sublimation. And even in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shri Krishna says that those who shun away the sense objects, but still are thinking about them all the time, he gives them two names. One is Vimudhatma, which means not just fool, but Vimudhatma means the greatest of the fools, the most foolish of the fools. And he gives them another term, Mityacharaha, which means hypocrites. Those who look good to others because they've cast away their attachment to the senses, yet their mind is on that the entire time. You're not really detached then, only physically, but not mentally or intellectually. The next part says, Kripa karahu, meaning show your grace lovingly. And this brings to mind not just a relationship between a guru and a student, but by any two people, a bond is the most strongest thing. And they're unlikely bonds that we make. Not just ones where we have things in common and so we really make a bond, but even when it's perceived that someone has something in common with you, you still make a bond with them. One example is that there was once a professor from Calcutta who went to Mumbai for a day trip, just for some conference or something. So he was there, and he was a very high-minded, really big professor. He went to a restaurant in the area. And he sat down, took the menu out, and that's when he realized he had forgot his eyeglasses. So he couldn't really see the menu that well. So when the waiter came, he didn't want to have to explain the whole story to him. I forgot my glasses, I can't read the menu, all of this and that. So he simply said, so waiter, please recommend whatever is good at your restaurant. That's an easy way out. And the waiter said, no, sir, I won't recommend. If you need time, please take your time. I'll go and I'll be back. Just look at the menu some more if you need to. And he said, no, really, I think you should just recommend whatever you want. Really, it's okay. And the waiter insisted even more. No, please, make your own choice. That went back and forth for a while. And then they both became quiet. And the waiter looked at the man and then smiled at the professor. He leaned in and he said, Saab, mujhe bhi padhna nahi aata, which means I can't read either. Which he perceived that the man couldn't read, and that created a bond between them, even though it wasn't true. So even when we don't have, truthful bonds with other people, it still is created. And then the last part of this chopai is Gurudeva Kinai. Like a guru, Hanuman bestows his grace lovingly, just as Lord Rama does. And another guru I know that bestowed his grace lovingly like that was Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananji. So much so that after his Mahasamadhi, immediately after his funeral, Puja Guruji Swami Tejomayananji was made the head of this organization. And as he stood there outside the area, one person asked, so Swamiji, how does it feel to be in Gurudev's shoes? Guruji simply looked down and said, I'm not in his shoes, I am at his feet. Many times I've heard Swami Sarveshananji say that Swami Chinmayananji is the Brahma who created everything, while Swami Tejomayananji is the Vishnu who really protects everything and keeps everything good. But I see it a different way. That is true, but I see Puja Gurudev as Lord Ram, the perfect man, the ideal man who lived for Dharma and to really uphold Dharma, and his joyful servant, his most prominent servant who carries forward his glory is none other than Puja Guruji Swami Tejomayananji. I see so much of Hanumanji in Puja Guruji. Now, there's two ways that people can express love for their disciples. One is in the very straightforward way that Lord Ram does to Hanuman, but there are two other examples that are just very different. One is Lord Hanuman himself. When Bhim, one of the Pandavas, was in the forest, he passed by, and then there was an old monkey, Hanumanji in disguise, who was laying on the path. His tail was in the way. And you're not supposed to step over the tail of anything. So Bhim politely asked, can you please move your tail? Get out of the way. And Hanumanji said, oh, I'm an old monkey. I can't really move my tail. Why don't you move it for me? He was disgusted, saying, can't even move his own tail. And I'm one of the strongest men in the world. What is that for me? So he went and he tried to lift the tail. To his surprise and astonishment, he found that he couldn't lift it up. With all his might, this is Bhim, the strongest man in the world, could not lift an old monkey's tail. And the harder he tried, the more heavier it got and the more it seemed that it was stuck to the ground. And he was humbled. And he fell at the feet of the monkey and said, you're no ordinary monkey. And then Lord Hanuman proved his true roop, his true form, and told him, yes, you've passed the test. Humility is how one gains what they want, only through humility. And he taught that lesson to Bhima, not just by telling him, but by really demonstrating it to him. And that's a lesson Bhima never forgot. Another example we find, a lesser known one, but one of my favorites, is in Bhagavatam, between Bhagavan Shri Krishna and his most prominent wife, Rukmini. So they were relaxing in the palace in Dwarka one day, and he decided to have a little discourse with her. He said to her, Rukmini, you're the most prominent of my wives, love spending time with you, but I still don't understand, why are you married to me? I just don't get it. You were already betrothed to Shishupala, you had an engagement. He was a great warrior, such a great man, you could have married him. He was crazy about you, mad about your beauty, about your intellect, everything. He really liked you. You could have married him. Instead, you married a person like me who got tired so much of attacked in Mathura by Jarasandha that I've gone to this Alcatraz that's surrounded by water so no one can attack me, called Dwarka. I've fled there. People laugh at me for doing that. Furthermore, Dwarka is not even mine. I'm not really royalty. I have no claim to this throne. Ugrasena is the one who's in charge. I'm pretty much here just living in the palace. Further speaking, my lineage is even in question. Because yes, Vasudeva is my father who is royalty, but I was raised by my foster father, Nanda and Yashoda, and they're just regular people, cowherds, poor people living in the village. What right do I have to any of this? And because of that, I'm not rich. I don't know how the rich behave either. I don't have that etiquette, that class. I'm just this classless old Krishna. That's all I am. Why are you even with me? And then he delivered the dagger. He said, Rukmini, in fact, if you find someone else that you'd like to marry, please just go on. I'm a flake anyway. Who knows if I'll even be with you? The love of my life, Radha, back in Vrindavan, I left her. I left my foster parents. They're crying for me so much. Uddhava tells me all the time, Nanda and Yashoda are weeping for you. All those gopis were madly in love with me, and the Gopal boys who I had so much fun with, I left them too. What makes you think I'm going to stay with you for much longer, you know? And hearing this, she did what anyone would do. She fainted on the spot. She couldn't take it. Her throat was parched and she was just crying. She just couldn't take this. The man I love is telling me all of this. And then when she finally gained consciousness, he said to her, I was simply just joking. And the reason Bhagavan Krishna did this as a guru was not just for spite, that he was bored one day and he said, hey, let's play a prank on my wife. That wasn't what it was. The backstory in the situation was, Rukmini, out of the 16,108 wives that Bhagavan Krishna had, she was the most prominent one. She was the one he was spending the most time with all the time. And because of that, she had a special pride in her, thinking, I'm Rukmini, I'm Krishna's favorite out of all of them. So to knock her down a few pegs, he said this to her. But then her response to Bhagavan Krishna is one of the most beautiful responses to the Lord I've ever heard. She says to him that you're right. You are not, all the things you said about yourself are right. You fled to Dwarka. But that's because you never do anything the way anyone expects you to. So many people get married on agreement. But because I pined for you, you came and kidnapped me from my own wedding and took me away to marry you. Who would do that for me? And you say that you have no claim to the throne. That's true. Because you have a claim to the throne of every person's heart. You're the king of everyone's heart. And then furthermore, she says, you said you have no aim in life. But in fact, you give an aim for everyone to strive to be something by looking at you. And who says you're not rich? You are everything. Mere currency stands nothing to your glory and your greatness. So I know I digressed a bit and gave an example of Krishna, but this ties in because it shows even in the most loving ways, in ways of trickery, the guru still gets the message across to the student. Whether that be Lord Rama, whether that be Hanumanji, whether it be Lord Krishna, or whether it be our own gurus that we have in Srimad Mission. Now, on to the next verse. Jo shatabar paata kar koi, chutahi banti maha sukha hoi. As we've heard, Jo shatabar means chanting it 100 times in one day. And the beautiful part of this chopai is that Goswami Tulsidas Ji does not say that you must chant this 100 times. He merely says, Jo shatabar, Jo meaning those who do it, good things will happen to them. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, at the end of the entire Gita in chapter 18, Bhagavan Krishna does not say that this is a mandate, a doctrine that you must live by. He says that it is matir mama, meaning my opinion. Whether you follow it or not is up to you, but I am not in the business of mandating you to do anything. I am merely prescribing the man of perfection or the woman of perfection. This is how they live. That's simply what he's presenting. And Goswami Tulsidas Ji does the exact same thing here. And a funny example of this is I had a job interview for an internship a few years ago. So I had the first few phone interviews, and the final third round of the interview was going to be a session at the office with a group interview with everyone. And after the interview, they give us lunch. And during the interview, one of the presenters spoke, and he mentioned that he saw in some TED Talk somewhere that leaders eat last. Those who are natural leaders wait for others to eat, and then they eat after others have had their fill. So hearing that, when it was time for lunch, all of us applicants stood around the table, none of us going for the food because leaders eat last, right? They never told us don't go eat the food, but they said, you know, Jo Shataba, Jo, those who people that are leaders eat last. And so we all stood there just staring at the food. And I decided to be a leader and go grab the food first, and that's others followed me after that. So that's how I was a leader. And then in one of our classes, someone asked Swamiji, how do I deal with the situation that I have? Where it's, I would call it a positive peer pressure, but it's still peer pressure. Where my friends are doing meditation sessions, yoga, eating healthy, all of this, and they're living lives that way. And it's kind of pressuring me to be that way, like them. Is it still okay even if that's pressure? And Swami Sarveshananji smiled and said, what you're talking about is not positive peer pressure, it's merely satsang. Being in the company of the good and doing what they do. Which is why even when we're on the 90th time of singing the Hanuman Chalisa out of 108, and we're just very tired and our voices are almost gone, looking at the people around us, we garner inspiration from them, and that keeps us moving forward till the end. In Patakar Koi, this does not mean simply that someone who chants, it means chanting with devotion. Because I'm guilty of this as well. When I chant something like the Hanuman Chalisa 108 times, I found myself, after a certain point, halfway in, doing it like this. Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhari, looking at my phone, looking at other people, not really with that true devotion of what I'm doing. So to truly achieve that Shatabar, the 100 times of truly devoted chanting, one must be locked in with their mind, not just their mouth, but with their mind the entire time. And that's far more difficult to do than anything I've ever done before. Like Tanya said, we strive to get there. I'm striving to get there as well, by not multitasking when I'm focusing on the prayers. Chutahi bandi, breaking the bondage. This is the bondage that we have internally, within ourselves, which means not giving in to the body's urges that we have, not letting the impurities of the mind control what we do, and not letting thoughts that come into our intellect without clarity, letting them sprout from the seed of our intellect. One of my favorite quotes is by President Barack Obama. The night he won the election, he said, "Our destiny is not written for us, but by us." And the Hanuman Chalisa, this part even shows that to break that bondage that we find ourselves in, drowning in samsara, it's not an external force that takes us from there. Yes, the Guru is a force that can help guide us, but in the end, it's getting over our own attachment to the body, mind, and intellect that really gets us to be where we want to be. In the last part, it says Sukhoi, bliss. But here, not just Sukhoi, but Maha Sukhoi, the unthinkable bliss, the greatest bliss you can ever feel is what comes from worshiping Lord Hanuman. Now, there's one comedian that I really like. His name is Louis C.K., really funny man. And he went on a rant during one show where his friend came up to him and he said, Louis, I had this taco the other day. It was the most amazing taco I've ever had. And he said, we use our words really well when we're talking about blissfulness and happiness. Food is amazing to us. What is that same guy going to say when he has his first child in the hospital? He's going to sit there and say, "Oh, amazing that my wife had a baby," right? So that taco that he had last week and the new life that he's bringing into the world, his own progeny, is the same amount of amazingness when he says they're both amazing. So this Maha Sukhoi is a bliss that we cannot even cognize. That's how great it is. An unthinkable bliss, unfathomable. But the only way we can even step into the door of finding that happiness is to live the way Lord Hanuman did. So looking through all these chopais, here at the later half of the Hanuman Chalisa, we see prescriptions for how a person that really wants to do good in the world, to improve themselves, what practices they take using the Hanuman Chalisa to get there. So once again, thank you so much for your time, and this Relay Yagna has been a pure pleasure to listen to as well as to participate in. Hari Om.
Hari Om, can you hear me? Okay. Awesome. I cannot say it in any better words than Sridhar already did, how wonderful this week has been listening to all of you talk about Hanumanji and Hanuman Chalisa. So I'm not even going to attempt that, but it's been pure pleasure. Awesome, or whatever it is. So there was a little bit of a mix-up here, and we missed out one verse, and let's go back and chant that together, and then I'll move on to the ones that I was supposed to talk about. It's number 36. संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा. Just to explain the words, संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा. जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा, it's what we are all doing right now. We've been doing it for the week and hopefully it continues. So one who is always thinking about Hanumanji, there is nothing that can really bother that person. Hanumanji destroys all Sankata if you really surrender to him and if you really try to imbibe everything, all the characteristics that he had. There is nothing that can actually disturb a person if one really follows Hanumanji and one is really devoted to Hanumanji. So that said, let's get back to when Sridhar was talking about his the last verse. It is part of Phalashruti for Hanuman Chalisa, and I just wanted to explain what this is because a lot of times, just for our convenience, we skip Phalashruti when we are chanting stotras, and Hanuman Chalisa is actually one place where we always say it, and that's a very good thing. But what is Phalashruti? Let's go with an example. So this person goes to a doctor with a list of complaints, and then the doctor patiently listens, and then he diagnoses whatever is the problem, and then says, okay, here you go. There are 3 bags of pills, red pills, blue pills, and white pills. That is all you'll need to feel better, go home, feel better, be healthy. Then this person comes home, and then he looks at these 3 bags, and he's like, so the red pill looks better. I don't like the color blue, so let me take red pills. Maybe that will cure me, right? Maybe it'll work, but most likely not. But it's certainly not the most effective way to do it. So what information is missing here? The doctor needs to tell the patient, okay, the red pills are antibiotics. You're supposed to take 3 a day for 5 days. The blue pill is maybe multivitamins. It doesn't matter. Take it for as long as you want. The white pills are painkillers. Take it only if you have pain. And with this information, the patient can go back and process this and say, okay, this is something that I have to do. This is something, painkillers, I'm really not in pain, so I don't have to take it. So this information is very important to actually make use of the knowledge that's been given to us. And the Phalashruti is what actually gives us this information. So we've read all these, we are at 39 verses of Hanuman Chalisa. And we've learned a lot about Hanumanji, and everybody has probably come up with ideas of how to incorporate this in their lives. But the verse that Sridhar just discussed, it's basically telling us how to actually use this Hanuman Chalisa. How do you actually chant Hanuman Chalisa, and what effect does this have in our lives? So with that said, let's go back to verse number 39. Which is Tulsi Das Sada Hari Chera Ki Jainath Hridaya Mahadera. Probably sang it in the wrong tune, but there is nothing wrong, so it's okay. Before I get into this verse, we've been talking about Hanumanji all week long, and especially today, it's more and more enforcing, right? So we are most of us are always looking for happiness. We are looking for ways to lead a fulfilling life. And there are a lot more technical terms used in the corporate world. We are always looking for something in our lives. And here, Hanuman Chalisa, it's all spelled out for us. It's written in clear words. You do this and you get this, and that's exactly what you're looking for. So it's handed to us in a silver platter. What keeps us from actually doing this? Here, sitting here in this moment, it almost seems like common sense to me. You chant Hanuman Chalisa 7 times a day. It means about 30 to 40 minutes a day. You do that, and then you get whatever it is that you desire. And it seems like a very small thing to do, and it's, it seems like common sense. But once we step out of this door, it kind of morphs into something like a task. And then the farther you go away from mission, it becomes bigger and bigger task. And by the time you go home, it's most likely gone, forgotten. It's almost like, these squirrels that they find their food, they dig up, and then they put their nuts there. And then they bury them. They're obviously saving it. I don't know for what. But then again, the next morning, they get up and they don't remember where they buried their nuts. And then when the time comes for them to eat, they go hunting again. And what we do is not much different from that. We forget all about what we are given here in satsangs and then go home and then start cribbing again about how we don't have solutions to problems. I'm not going to hypothesize reasons for this, and frankly, I can't think of a valid reason, but I really hope and pray that we retain our common sense. And like she said, make it a point. It doesn't have to be chanting Hanuman Chalisa 108 times, but come up with a plan and implement it. Whether it is 7 times a day or even 1 time a day, it's whatever it is. And Tulasi Das Sada Hari Chera, Kije Nath Hridaya Mama Dera. So what is Tulsi Das ji saying here? This is a very nice, this is the 40th Chaupai, by the way. So it's a very nice way to end Hanuman Chalisa, I think. So Tulsi Das ji here is praying to the Lord. He says, Tulsi Das Sada Hari Chera. I've always been your devotee. Here, Hari can mean Rama or Hanumanji. It doesn't really matter, right? Hanuman, where the devotee is, the Lord is, where the Lord is, Hanumanji is. So whoever is the Lord, Tulsi Das ji is saying, I've always been your devotee all my life. So what do I want from you? This is so humbling. He says, I want you to come and reside in my heart. And he's actually using an interesting word there, dera. It does not exactly mean making a home. It's more, it's a stronger word. And if I have to translate, it's something like seize. And when you seize a place, it's like, you're not letting go of it. You're there for good. And there is no space for anything else. So that's how Tulsi Das ji wants Hanumanji to occupy his heart. He wants him to seize his heart. He wants Hanumanji and only Hanumanji and everything that comes with Hanumanji to occupy his heart, and no space for anything else in his heart. And it's not for a day, for a week or a year, but forever. And so I just want to say it once again. Tulsi Das Sada Hari Chera, Kije Nath Hridaya Mama Dera. You and only you, please reside in my heart and stay there forever. And as I say it, it almost sounds like a wedding proposal. And it is, in some sort. This is the devotee proposing to the Lord. And all of us do. And I hope and pray that Lord does say yes one day. Moving on. This leaves us with the last doha. Please chant with me. Pavan Tanaya Sankata Harana Mangala Murti Rupa Ram Lakhan Sita Sahita Hridaya Basahu Surabhub. It's so hard not to continue on to Suyavar Ramachandra ki jai, Pavan Sut Hanuman ki jai. I know I cannot resist it, so I said it. But anyway, this is like the back cover of a book, right? And once you pick up, I mean, we've done with all the 40 chaupais now. So this is the last verse in this composition. And it is basically summarizing the whole thing. If somebody, I mean, there are a lot of lazy people, so this is even worth looking into. You can look at the shloka, and it basically gives you what is in the book. And so who is this? What is this about? Who is this about? Pavanatanai, Lord Hanumanji, son of Vayudevta. And what does son Hanumanji do? He does a lot of things, but in this verse, it is Sankata Harana. He removes all disturbances from our lives. And how does he look? You know, we've been talking about Hanumanji all week long, and there is just so much to him. The way he led his life, the way his life was totally devoted, and basically, there was nothing in his life except Ramji, and Ramji, Sitaji, and yeah, basically his Lord. It was totally dedicated to the seva of Lord. And what do you expect his form to be like? I mean, it is the most auspicious form. So, Mangala Murti Roop. Rama Lakhan Sita Sahita Hridaya Basahu Surabhub. That is such a beautiful way to end this. Ram, Lakhan, Sita Sahit, with Ramji, Lakhanji, and Sitaji, Hridaya Basahu Surabhup, come and live in my heart with Ramji, Sitaji, and Lakshmanji. That's the last thing he says in his prayer. And it kind of makes sense, right? Hanumanji lives in your heart, and Ram, not that Ramji can stay away from Hanumanji, but you also don't want Hanumanji looking after Ramji. You want him to stay put, so you want the entire family to live in your heart. But symbolically, Ramji also symbolically, Ramji is also, I would say happiness, but Ananda is not really happiness. It doesn't really translate that way. But Ramji is, to me, happiness, Ananda, knowledge. And all you have to do is look at the picture up there. And when you look at it, that's the only word, Ananda. And Sitaji is Shanti. Lakshmanji is, as it was mentioned today, Vairagya. He didn't really have to follow Ramji. It was legally not required, but he did. And he also stayed up all 12 years. I don't know, it's beyond me to even imagine that. But he did all that, and he's basically Vairagya personified. So Ramji, Sitaji, Lakshmanji in the form of Ananda, Shanti, and Vairagya. And it's not a coincidence that all of these traits also describe Hanumanji. So when Hanumanji resides in our heart, hopefully all of these traits also follow, and we can improve ourselves and imbibe all these traits eventually. With that said, now we can chant it. Siyavar Ramachandra ki jai, Pavan Sutta Hanuman ki jai. Hari Om.
Hari Om. So that brings us to the closing of our Hanuman Chalisa Relay Yagna that we have had this week. As has been mentioned, it's been purely a pleasure to listen to. So today, Swamiji had asked that we go ahead and do the Guru Dakshina. So we'll keep the basket up here at the front. And then just to close for today and the entire week also, if we can just all go ahead and chant the entire Hanuman Chalisa together, and then we'll do our closing prayer. Sridhar, yeah, come on. He turned it off.
I want to know. Shri Guru Charana Saroj Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhari Bharano Raghubara Bimala Jasu Jodayak Phalachari Buddhihina Tanujanike Sumiro Pavana Kumara Bala Buddhi Betya Dehu Mohi हरहु कलेस विकार जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीस तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन बरण विराज सुवेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा भिराजे कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजग विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज संवारे लाय सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हरषि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बढ़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही सम भाई सहस बदन तुम्हरो यश गावे, अस कहीं श्रीपति कंठ लगावे। सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा, नारद सारद सहित, चमकुबेर दिगपाल जहाते, कभी कोविद कहि सके कहाते। तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीन्हा, राम मिलाय राजपद दीन्हा। तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना। जुग सहस्र योजन पर भानु, लील्यो ताहि मधुर फल जानु। प्रभु मुद्रिका मेली मुख माहि, चल दिलांघि गए अचर जनाहि। दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हरे तेते। राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे, होतन आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे। सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी शरणा, तुम रक्षक काहू को डर। आपन तेज सम्हारो आप, तीनों लोक हांकते कांप। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा। संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम बचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोई अमित जीवन फल। चारों युग पर ताप तुम्हारा, है पर सिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता, असबर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा। तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्तन धरहि, हनुमत से ही सर्व सुख करहि। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरै हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। 64 बार पाठ कर कोई, छूटहि बंति महासुख होई। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, की जय नाथ हृदय मह डेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरणा, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुर भूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय, बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम।